Hey, friend. So good to see you. I missed you last week because I was preoccupied in New York, but hopefully you had a fantastic week and really just sort of enjoyed as we sink deeper into fall because it's hard to believe that it is already September. I know it's really shocking to me personally. And so I hope that you're finding it to be filled with everything that you were hoping for. If you are new here, please say hi to us in the chat. This might be a little bit different than what you're used to, where you get to sit back, relax, and absorb. We are more of a sit forward, get those fingers typing, and lean in sort of bunch here. That's why you see Giacomo and Jeff and Jim and Aaron already chiming in with where they're coming in from and perhaps what is in their cup. But fear not, if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast network while you walk the dog or fold the laundry or do chores around the house, then you too have a seat at this table. Even if you are listening to this at 1 a.m. while you do your chores, that's okay. We're all not up at 1 a.m, but you are up at 1 a.m. So you can always feel free to message me any questions or things that we might have missed. This session I thought would be really great because throughout the year, I tend to get a lot of people that are messaging me with questions about work, about business, about entrepreneurship, about the job market that's happening right now, about networking in today's environment. And so obviously, I love that we get together every week and we learn from experts, and we're going to be doing that as always. In fact, I'm really excited about next week's, or not next week because we're off next week, but the session after that, we've got some good ones coming up that I'm really excited about. But, normally we're learning from experts, but I thought we could take a second and perhaps learn from each other and perhaps have a little conversation, just you and I, about all things business, all things entrepreneurship, all things work. And we can ask each other questions back and forth. We can talk out some scenarios and some things that might be helpful. And I also got a lot of really great messages about this session. So there were one or two questions that I got that I want to make sure that I get to. But I would love to know kind of what's new in your world and what you're seeing or what you're struggling with or what you're really excited about or an article that you read recently that you really enjoyed. I would love to toss the conversation right back to you and hear about what's going on in your world. But I'll start with one of the ones that got emailed in just because that's probably easiest. And I know everybody hates asking questions, and it's always a relief when somebody else decides to go first. So, Richmond, oh, drizzly and cold. Oh no, thanks for warming up with us and getting a little something hot and warm and pulling up a chair with us. But one of the questions that I got was really how to network when, so many of us are remote or we are on Zoom or some things are in person, other things not really. And I'll give two strategies that I've really found to be beneficial lately. And the first one is something that you're already doing, which is joining live communities. I feel like joining lives are really beneficial because, listen, I love a good podcast as much as the next person. I love a good YouTube video as much as the next person. What I find lacking in the comment section on YouTube, maybe it's a little better on websites such as Reddit or, more like community driven websites where it's kind of like you post a question and then you have lots of people answer, is I miss the idea of really being able to have actionable takeaways. So when I join a live and I either am hearing from an expert or seeing somebody in the comment section that I think, wow, that person made a really good point. Like, I want to follow up with them. I want to chase that down a little bit more. I have an actionable thread to follow. And so joining lives, I found has been really beneficial. And, or again, it doesn't have to be lives like this. It could be Zoom calls where, they release other people in the audience so you can see the other people that are there. I found that, that can be really helpful to continue to network from the courtesy of your own home, from, wherever you might be in the world. But joining lives, I think that is one of the most underrated things that you can really do. And it's easy and it's quick to really help your networking. So that's kind of like the digital at home piece of advice. And Amanda's like, yes, live feedback is a whole different vibe. I totally agree. I think the way that you're able to interact live is so much more dynamic than making comments on a YouTube video or making comments on an Instagram video or making comments on, a TikTok. And listen, there's live features on LinkedIn, like we're doing right now. There's live features on YouTube. We also push to YouTube. There's live features on Instagram. There's live features on TikTok. So I would say, find those creators or find those little avenues and join their lives. Not only for them, but for the people that are also in the lives, that I want to make sure that we're really like harping on that, because it's not just I joined a live because I think this person is going to teach me about business building. That could be true, but also I know that if it's me joining the workshop all about business building, chances are the other 100 people in the workshop are probably very similar to me. They're also probably exploring business, or they're also into business building. So connecting with them as well, really important. And then kind of what I've been using lately in terms of like in-person networking is really, I find, going for like the quality versus the quantity. And I don't know if that comes honestly with age. I don't know if that comes from just sort of where I am in my career, but I used to play the quantity game. So I used to just be like, any sort of mixer, any sort of meetup, any sort of networking event, like bam, 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 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like I'm there. I don't know what I'm doing there, but I'm there. And again, that could just be a factor of me being younger. This was, before I had a husband, before I had responsibilities at home, and, you could go out 4 nights a week and that was fine. But now instead, I really try to say, okay, and again, it's not necessarily traditional networking. I'll give you an example. I'm based here in Austin. There's a lot of events that happen here. Some of them have to do with business, some of them don't, but I know that maybe the people that are, best suited to where I am for me to network with might also be at those events. So I will say, okay, I'm going to pick one event a month or 2 events a month, and I'm going to make a concerted effort to go to those events. And I'm really going to prep myself out to, engage with people. And usually I give myself a little like homework assignment. I'll say, okay, Kim, you're going to go to this event and it's going to be all about business building. And your goal is to find 2 people and get their contact information. So even if you're there for 2 hours, you can't just stay like huddled with the one friend that you also know at that event. I'll tell myself like, okay, I have to get 2 emails. And like, that's a win. That's like a little homework assignment that I give myself. So I know that question was emailed in earlier about like networking kind of digitally versus networking in person. And those are things that I have found to be really helpful lately, and things that I've been using in kind of my everyday life is really going for the quality versus the quantity. But, Giacomo was like, yes, quality over quantity. But I will say, if you're joining this and you are on the younger side, you are in your 20s, I also don't think like, there's an art to the quantity over quality as well. Like if you can do 4 networking events a week, like I'm going to be slow clapping you from the back row, like do it, go for it. Like I don't have that energy. I have responsibilities at home that I can't go out 3 nights a week anymore. But if you can, and there's no skin off your back and you don't mind doing it, like do it. But I think for those of us that maybe are at a different phase of our career or responsibilities in our everyday life, that really kind of looking for those quality versus quantity pinpoints and intersection points is going to be big. Big hello to Abdallah. It's so good to see you from Nigeria. And he said, I want to talk about startups. There's so much to talk about with startups. So I will just kind of give you my 10,000 foot view on startups in the state of the world. But if you have something more specific, Abdallah, please write it in. But I think startups are having an interesting moment right now. Let's just be candid. The startup world is really hard right now. It's extremely hard to raise money right now. We were in like sort of a very frothy time where lots of people were able to raise these sort of outrageous rounds, I would say even like pre-COVID and, post-COVID, and especially like in the last year or two, it's tough. It is tough out there. And so I think that's happened. And I also think another thing's happened, which is I think a lot of people sort of in the early, late 2010s, early 2020, it was very like sexy and cool to like have a startup and be part of a startup and work at a startup. And I think some of that shine has sort of worn off. And I think more people are realizing either A, there's nothing wrong with a lifestyle business. I personally love a lifestyle business. Like that is one of my favorite startups that people can have. If you want to follow someone that is another creator that also believes in this, I highly suggest you look into Justin Welsh. We can include his link here, but he is all about like kind of his slogan is I think it used to be the one person, $1 million business. And I think he's increased that to like the one person, $10 million business. But he is very much a proponent of sort of like a lifestyle business. It's not one of these startups that has like 20 employees and like offices in 3 places and, really kind of more focused on what is like a 1-person business, what is a 2-person business. So I think startups in that space and startups that are more lifestyle businesses, I always think are great entry points to entrepreneurship and really low hanging fruit because you can do those types of startups and businesses or consultancies or whatever you want to call them while you already have a full-time job. And I always tell people, and I will offer this advice to you as well, Abdul, but unless you are independently wealthy, and in which case my birthday's in a couple weeks, I can send you a list of things I like. Unless independently wealthy and you don't have to work because your lifestyle is already paid for, then by all means, start the bakery, start the coffee shop. Like, buy the space, buy the coffee beans, start roasting, flat whites and, Americanos all day long. For the other 99% of us who have to pay bills and pay rent or a mortgage or your credit card, I have tried many a times, and American Express cannot be paid in vibes. It cannot be paid in good vibes. It cannot be paid in like, but I'm hustling, but I'm like hashtag entrepreneurship life. Yeah, no. So for others that have to, pay the mortgage, pay the bills, pay the groceries, whatever, you can't just quit your job, and say like, see you later, suckers. And then, you wake up on Tuesday going, okay, like what now? So for a lot of us, starting as that side hustle or starting as a consultant or starting, maybe in more of a lifestyle business, I think could be helpful as you pave your way to realistic ways to have an entrepreneurial journey of your own. So hopefully that answers your question. But I love this one from James as well. It says, how do you de-escalate your own emotions when in a heated or super emotional situation? because if anybody has been on social media the past week or two, you may have seen it here in the US. There was a baseball game with the in Philly, and basically there were people behaving badly, adults behaving badly, if you will. And this man kind of got this home run ball, gave it to his son, put it in his baseball mitt, and then this erratic woman came over and was like berating him that you stole the ball from me, even though he didn't. And he sort of made this split second decision, and he could have argued back with her and just said, see you never, I'm not giving you this ball back. And instead he took the ball from his son and gave it to the woman and was just kind of like, get away from me. And, there's kind of all these different viewpoints. He shouldn't have given the ball. He should have given the ball. I totally agree with James. I think what a lot of people are forgetting about is his child was with him. So this wasn't, he was, at the baseball game with his bros and, somebody came over and he could kind of give him one of these back away, that's my ball. Like, he's with a child. And I think so many adults, and I see it also like with my friends as well. And again, I'm not a parent, and I know this gets into crazy territory, but it's hard when you tell kids, you can't have a phone or less screen time. And you look over at the parents and they're on TikTok. It's like, okay, what is that phrase? Monkey see, monkey do. And so I agree with James. I feel like when it comes to de-escalating situations, I think for me, the biggest takeaway watching that was know who you're around. So, or know your place. So for instance, if you are in a rowdy bar and it's a Saturday and you're all watching sports, and one football team scores and the other football team is, the other people are kind of like, oh no, the other team scored. You might say, oh, well, they shouldn't have gotten that one. That was a bad call. You could have this sort of outburst. You're in a loud bar, kind of know your place, know who you're around. If you're in a boardroom and it's a Monday morning and your competitor, has this amazing campaign that came out over the weekend, you probably shouldn't be sitting in that board meeting going, oh, bollocks, what a terrible, that might not be the time and the place. So I think my biggest takeaway when it comes to situations that have a lot of heat with them is know your place. So where are you? Are you in a boardroom? Are you in a sports bar? Like, where are you? And who's around you? Are there children around? Are you around coworkers? Are you, with your friends? I think those two things, where you are and who you're with, can make a big difference in how you approach those situations. Because the truth of the matter is, there is no one size fits all. I don't think, a technique that you might use in front of kids might be a different technique than you use with an adult. So I think that it really just kind of knowing that and honing in on that is, I think, really helpful, really supportive. Amanda's question is, how do you approach building relationships and networks authentically on LinkedIn, especially when it feels like everyone is just selling or promoting themselves? Ugh, Amanda, this one is really hard. I'm not going to lie. It's really tough. And I think it's really one of those things that it's going to be trial and error. You're not going to get it right 100% of the time. You're going to connect with someone thinking, wow, this person, we're going to become accountability partners and they're going to help me and I'm going to help them. And all of a sudden, 3 months later, they try to sell you something and you're like, wait a minute, what? Huh? So I think a lot of it is finding your tribe, finding your people. I don't want to brag, but I will, that, this group I think is especially strong. The people that join here every single Wednesday are really people that genuinely care about getting better themselves, genuinely care about helping other people get better. And, it's not just me sort of saying that. The proof is in the pudding. I mean, we have people that join us from all over the country that, Giacomo comes all the way to the United States and meets up with Shelby and meets up with James. And, I'm all of a sudden in New York and I'm meeting up with Jeff in person. And so those sort of connections, I think, are really powerful. And it takes a minute to find those, and you're going to like kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince. So this is also one of those that, there is going to have to be a quantity play, because you're going to know, okay, if I connect to 10 people on LinkedIn, unfortunately, 5 of them are going to kind of be like duds. And the other 5 of them are going to be, amazing people that I really, want to like continue to connect with and continue to reach for. And so I think that's the biggest thing is, really kind of putting in the reps, putting in all the different numbers with connecting with people, and just knowing ahead of time, like, you're not going to be batting 1,000, you're not going to be 100% of the time really finding those quality people every single time. But I also think that, at the risk of sounding cheesy, it also depends on what you put out. So like the type of content, as an example, that I put out is all about helping other people and things that I've learned. Like, hey, I, watched this course from Aaron Shrimpton and here are my 3 takeaways. Or, hey, I watched this new course from Gemma Lee Roberts and here are my 3 takeaways. Or I watched this course and now I want you to experience it too. So like, let's come and sit down with, the person that I learned from. Like, kind of my whole vibe is like, either I'm learning and I'm sharing what I learned with you, or I'm like, pull up a chair, let's all learn together. And so I think that is more helpful, as opposed to there are other people on LinkedIn, who shall remain nameless, who every 2 weeks are trying to like push you to buy a product or a service or their coaching or their consultancy work. And I think there's always a fine balance between, obviously you have to sell things and also attracting things. But I also find that some of the best sales that happen are through helping. So like, I'll use an example that actually happened like 2 weeks ago or something, a couple of weeks ago. I saw somebody on LinkedIn had messaged about like, how did these work with lives? Like, how do the lives work? How do you get them scheduled? How can they come up on LinkedIn Learning? Like, how does it work? And I simply tagged Shelby, because I was like, Shelby helps me with all my lives and maybe she can help you. And some of those times Shelby helps. And then that person is like, can I just hire you? Like, can you just help me? That's not Shelby like selling to them. That's like, I have this value of help. If you want this help, like, I'm here. And I think that is sort of the best type of connecting and advertising and selling that you can do on LinkedIn. But again, that's just me. That's just like my own little tidbit of what I've seen. But I'm curious to know like what you've seen. If there's something that you've seen that you're like, oh, this is so weird. Oh my gosh, Chloe. First of all, I miss you. And second of all, thank you. That's really, really sweet. She said you showed up authentically and it tracks the same in return. So I love that. Thank you. Shelby's asking, what would you go back and tell your 25-year-old self? First of all, that was only a mere 5 years ago. So what would I tell myself 5 years ago? No, kidding. That was a little more than 5 years ago. But if I could go back and tell anything to my 25-year-old self, it's so cheesy. And I've started to use this. I don't know where I saw this on the social medias somewhere, but I've really started to do it when I'm having sort of a lousy day, or when I'm having a day that I'm very frustrated or maybe not that happy in my current situation. I will tell myself, okay, let's pretend that we are future Kim, and future Kim kind of got in a Elon Musk created space machine and came back to this exact day. So like this exact moment, this exact day. And she gets to live it again. Like, what would she appreciate? What would she do differently? And I think it's so cheesy, but if I could tell my 25-year-old self something, it's the same thing that, we all say to people in like college or university, where we're like the old people, where we're like, oh, enjoy your university days. And everybody in university is like, oh my God, shut up, grandma. Like, I don't get it. Because you don't realize, like, for example, at university, it's depressing, but that is the closest you will ever live to all your friends. Ever. That's the closest you'll ever live to all your friends. Or high school, however you want to think about it, high school or university, because everybody moves. Everybody moves, everybody goes away, everybody starts their own lives with their own kids. You'll never have that space again. You just won't. You're never going to have that time and space again. And so if I could go back to my 25-year-old self, I would say, oh my gosh, it sounds so cheesy, but like really soak that in, because you're never going to be in that same place again. And so I don't know, sort of a long rambly answer, but I hope that, just really just appreciating kind of where you are. And then on a more like practical note, I would probably tell my 25-year-old self to like start saving sooner. I think until I was 30, I like didn't believe in saving. I was like, YOLO, like we got it, let's spend it. And now as I get older, I'm like, oh, 401ks, like, savings accounts. Those would have been helpful back in the day. That's like more of a practical answer. But Liz is asking, on the topic of sales, to be successful in business, do you need to be a good salesperson? Hot take, Liz. I think you need to be a good salesperson, period. I am of the camp that we are selling ourselves all the time. All the time. Dating, you want a partner? You're selling yourself. You are literally saying like, just hands, who wants to go on a date with me? Who wants to share their life with me? Like you're an advertisement. You are selling yourself like to find that partner. I think once you start having kids, I don't have kids yet, but like all my friends that have kids, boy, oh boy, are they selling their kids hard to, my kids got to get into this daycare because it's the closest daycare to my house. And if I don't get into this daycare, the other daycare is 50 miles away. And, they're bringing cupcakes to the daycare. And are you sure there's not an opening for my kid at the daycare? You are, in my opinion, you are selling yourself at work, promotions, projects, your next job, your next thing that you're going to conquer. I'm really of the belief that everybody's a salesman. There are people that are better and worse at it. And there are people that have that in their job description, certainly. But at the end of the day, I think every single person is in sales. And for anybody that's like, well, I'm not in sales. Have you ever gotten promoted? Have you ever gone from assistant to coordinator or junior manager to manager? Because if you've had any sort of uptick in your life, you've sold yourself, maybe without you realizing it. Maybe you sold yourself by coming in on time, by clocking in and doing the right work and showing your boss that you're responsible and being reliable. But, actions speak louder than words. You were selling yourself on the responsibility of a promotion. But yeah, Liz, I think we are all selling ourselves all the time. And to echo what Andrew is saying, a salesperson is really just a solution person. It's not sales. It's saying you have a problem, whatever that is. You need a new manager at the ice cream shop. And I know how to solve that because I've been an assistant manager at this ice cream shop for the past 3 summers. And I know what it takes. So again, sort of like a silly example, but I think that is really helpful. Jeff is asking, how would you form a group for like-minded people to do something specific? like job hunting support or travel or, maybe some other kind of joint interest that everybody has. If I had to do that from scratch right now, what I would probably do is I would start posting content that other people in that same situation or in those same shoes are also thinking about. So, using the example of job hunting support, I would probably start creating content around, I'm making this up, but 3 things that you should do to help your friend that's looking for a job, or 3 things you should say to someone who is looking for a new opportunity. I would start to create content where other people who are also in that same position are going, oh my gosh, me too. Me freaking too. Or I'm forwarding it to someone going, oh my gosh, isn't that so true? What Jeff said about finding a job, isn't that so true? Like both of us are going through it. And what you'll find is kind of like you're attracting those people to you as opposed to you going out and finding them. So I would pick qualities, or again, like using the travel example. So maybe like you want to find, I don't know, business people that want to work remote and travel the world. I would start making content about traveling the world, like balancing it all, like traveling the world while still working or something like that. And start attracting those people to you, because I think it's much harder for you to go find them. Or another thing is find a creator who is already talking about job searching or job hunting. So like I'm thinking off the top of my head, like Madeline Mann, who we've, chatted with before, and going kind of dipping into her pond, dipping into her pool, because that the majority of the people that are, liking her comments on LinkedIn or engaging with her LinkedIn posts are probably also in the job hunting space and sort of kind of latching on or maybe joining, some of her lives or things that she's doing. So if you don't want to kind of like create that own pool for yourself, kind of latching onto somebody else who is creating content around that subject and trying to like pick out your people from that mix. So hopefully that helps, Jeff. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what else we got in here. Erin is asking, what is your career goal journey for the next 5 years? Oh, that's really tough. And to be honest, Erin, I stopped doing 5-year sort of like goal settings, probably like honestly, like pre-COVID. And I stopped doing it because I realized that I'll use my business as an example. So I started my business in January of 2011. So if we think back, if we put ourselves in a little thought time machine, January of 2011, and I started it in the entertainment and music business. If we think back to music and entertainment in January of 2011, we were still all buying CDs. Yep, CDs at Walmart and Target and Best Buy. We were downloading songs for $1.99 on iTunes. Yep, we all had iPods that we were downloading songs to listen to them. In 2011, we had just Pandora was like a thing. Pandora, this like internet radio where you could like listen to the radio on the internet with like ads. And Spotify was starting to get popular in the UK. But Daniel Elk, who started it, was just bringing it over to the United States in like Q1 of 2011. The difference between 2011 and 2016 was like a freight train. Okay. No more CDs, no more iTunes even. Everyone is on Spotify. Everyone is on Apple Music. Everything is streaming. No one is buying music. I hate to say it anymore. This was before like vinyls kind of made that like weird comeback. Instagram, huge. Like that's where a lot of the music discovery was happening at the time. And so if I had set goals in 2011, I mean, it might have been something like, I don't know, sell more CDs in Walmart, or like, you know, do a partnership with Pandora. 5 years later, 2016, Pandora was like defunct, didn't even exist. And I think for better or for worse, when you see, I could pull it up, but you've seen like that grid that shows like the technological innovations from like 1900 to now. And basically it's like, the industrial revolution, it starts to go up. Okay, AC is invented, like all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like the 80s and 90s and the internet, and it goes like almost vertical. Like it's just like whoosh. And so I don't really set 5-year goals anymore because I honestly, like, it sounds cheesy, but like in 5 years, I live in Austin. We see them here all the time. These like Waymos, these like driverless vehicles. You can actually order them on Uber. My husband does it all the time. I've not actually done it yet. I'm still a little freaked out by it. He does it all the time, where it's these robot cars that are driving you around Austin. I don't know, maybe in 5 years, the majority of them are robot cars. I, I don't know. Like, I'm watching, we all see AI. 3 years ago, everybody was writing their own LinkedIn posts. I log on to now LinkedIn half the time. It's like AI slop. And I can tell that it's AI slop because it sounds like AI slop. So, very long-winded way of saying I have no idea career-wise 5 years from now, but I do like 1-year goals. That to me seems like a little more realistic. I can like predict a little bit. But one of the things I hope from sort of more of like a macro view in 5 years, I hope that I'm still embracing new technology. I think that that's one of the things that we all need to do. I think as soon as you don't want to embrace new things, you're like dead in the water. It's annoying, by the way. I embrace new things reluctantly. I don't like embracing new things, I don't like that. But, I have to sack up and learn about ChatGPT and learn about Claude and learn about the new Notion features and learn about I like it, but like gotta sack up and do it. Um, you know, like Jeff is saying, I started in tech in the mid to late 90s, and the amount of change for each generation is indescribable. I mean, it's crazy, like just the amount of change that you'll see. So yeah, whether it's checking in every 3 months, like Chloe is saying, or whether it's like a 1-year sort of refresh, whatever that is, I think that you really just have to do like smaller increments, because the amount of change that we're seeing is wild, like really, 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 really wild. It's just, yeah, totally nuts. Giacomo is asking, what are the best tips in order to get a job interview and pass the initial evaluation of your cover letter, especially if you're applying for a job in a totally different field than you're currently working in, and maybe your resume does not necessarily reflect everything that you can bring to the table? I think my best advice for something like this is, as much as possible, and as hard as it is, you have to find a way to access a human. I think so much of this stuff is done online now, like so much of these like job application portals and these job portals, and upload your resume and upload your cover letter, and it's being scanned by AI and whatnot. And I think so much of it, I think in a weird way, like the more AI and the more technology we have access to and kind of introduces itself, almost like in a weird way, the more powerful the old school systems become. Because as much as AI or the computers can tell you that, Robert is the perfect person for this job, if you met Bob through a friend, or because that person has been, at the same networking events as you, and you've seen them and you've had coffee with them, I think there is still that sort of human nature concept that someone's going to go, yeah, but like I've met Bob. Like, I know Bob. Like, Bob is a real person as opposed to this sort of computer generated thing that's saying, Robert is the best. So I think as much as you can, whether it is, again, going to those networking events or networking your way to someone to get a real person, to have a Zoom call with them, to interact with them in some way, I think that as much as you can kind of put some humanness to you and like a human factor, I think that that's going to be really helpful. In addition to, of course, applying to the portals and, putting your cover letter and updating it. I think that that's always the case. And another thing that I think could be extremely helpful. And I know Rachel I don't think she's joining today, but I know she does this a lot. And I think it's really beneficial. Rachel has a business that talks a lot about like finances and balancing like your taxes and personal finances specifically for entertainers and in the entertainment industry. And she does such a beautiful job on LinkedIn of, writing a newsletter and, doing posts that are like tips and tricks and financial things and, having that as something that you're able to forward to someone. And that's a way to attracting those people to you. I'm going to forget the saying, but I know Madeline Mann calls it, it's not job searching and it's not job hunting. It's like job attracting or something. Job shopping. Was it job shopping? It was job shopping. Shelby's giving me like the yes. My mind sometimes goes, my friend, but it was job shopping. But I think, really kind of picking out how you can help people is super, super powerful for sure. Duan is saying, this AMA is the best example of this. We all engage with your content, but interaction herein gives it a unique meaning. Exactly. Like the proof is in the pudding. I think just everybody being able to interact in real time with each other. You need help with this. I need help with this. Okay. Do we connect offline? Or, oh, I saw Giacomo that you mentioned this. Like I kind of had that same question. Like, maybe we should connect and do a Zoom and catch up. I think that there's a real magic in that. And there's a real power in kind of finding those people and finding those pockets to go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, me too. Like, oh yeah, we're the same. Okay, let's connect offline. I think it's really powerful. Abdallah is asking again, speaking of balancing, I'm the kind of person that usually thinks I can do a million things. Will that have an effect on my journey? Yes. I know this is going to be such a hard lesson for you to learn, and actually nothing that I say or anybody else. I'm actually curious how other people, maybe like Liz or James or Jeff can kind of chime in here, or Chloe, but like nothing that we tell you is going to, it's kind of like telling your friend not to date that jerk, but like she has to learn that he's a jerk for herself or else she'll just like keep dating him. It's one of those things that I think you won't get it until you get it. But my opinion, and again, I'm curious to hear what yours is that, what is that phrase? Like do many thing, master of none. Oh my gosh, I'm really losing it today with these phrases, but like in some ways, especially in your career, especially in entrepreneurship, you can't do what I call like the spray and pray. We're like, I'm going to start 50 businesses and like one of them is going to work. No. I don't think you can do a million things. I don't think you can be all things to all people. I don't think that you can wear all the hats. You might be able to wear all the hats for like a hot second, but then you're going to burn yourself out and make yourself absolutely Looney Tunes. So it's not going to last. I think you have to really pick your lane, pick and see. A great book, actually, Abdallah, if you want to read it, it's called The E-Myth. There's the E-Myth, and then there's the E-Myth Revisited, but it sort of talks about this. And I know, especially you were asking about entrepreneurship earlier. Yes, James is like jack of all trades, master of none. Exactly. You can only do so many things really well. And also, again, that leads to burnout. So you might think to yourself, yes, I can like do this startup and do my job and do this computer hustle and, still pay the bills and take out the garbage. Like, you will drive yourself loco. Like, you will burn out. You might be able to do it, for a little bit, but and anybody here, I think, will also tell you, because we've all faced burnout, at one point or another. And I think the majority of that burnout comes from exactly what you're saying, which is, I thought that I could do these 85 things. Like, fun fact, I can't. So I think the sooner kind of you realize, like, you can't do all the things, really, I think focusing is a skill. Distilling what you want to do is a skill, because there's times where it's like, I could do 5 things, but really saying, I'm really going to narrow it in on these 2 things. I actually think that is a skill that's really hard to develop. And I think might be something that you have to kind of discover on your own, which is sort of like hard advice to give, because it's basically like saying, if you've known anybody that's gone through a hard breakup, or, it's like, you kind of got to let people go through that breakup and go through that hardship before they realize, like, I'm never going to date somebody like that again. But if they never went through the hardship, then they would never know to avoid that person or that type of relationship in the future. So unfortunately, I think burnout is in your future. I think you will need to experience that for yourself before you realize that you can't do all the things or be all the things to all the people. So that is my best advice to you, especially Chloe is saying that she heard a quote that says, to-do lists are actually just wish lists. And that's so true, because you can't necessarily get to every single thing on your to-do list. It really is a wish list. And then you have to figure out, okay, like, what can I actually do from this list? Like, what is realistic for just today? And like Erin is saying, controlling your mindset is a huge part of that, a huge, huge, huge part of that. So it's so much better to be specific, as Liz is saying, because when you specialize and you become really, really good at that one thing, it sort of differentiates you from the competition, because you've kind of narrowed in on what your secret sauce is. And again, to echo what I said earlier, continuing to learn. So continuing to learn, continuing to surround yourself by people that enjoy and optimize learning, I think is really, really powerful. I know we only have a short amount of time left, which I know the time flies by, but I want to do a shameless plug, which is because it sort of resonates with what we just talked about. One of the things that I've mentioned numerous times here is surrounding yourself with people that are really hungry for knowledge, that are looking to make themselves better. I think that like, if somebody, not that anybody asked, but I think if they did, like, if somebody said, like, what is your one secret to success? It is that I've constantly surrounded myself with people who are striving to be better. I think that you are only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And the more you surround yourself with like-minded people that are hungry for knowledge and hungry to continue to connect and learn and grow, I think that's like the biggest fast pass, like the biggest unlock, the biggest key that you can have. Selfishly, we do that. We do that every single Wednesday here. You can always go to getcoffeewithkim.com, and we have like a full list of kind of who we're sitting down with and what we're learning about. And we have calendar invites that will send you calendar invites and reminders. And, I'm definitely a slave to my calendar. I used to have like eat lunch in my calendar because I would get so busy that I would literally forget to eat lunch until like 3:00. And then I'd be like, I'm starving. And then I would eat a bunch of junk because I was so hungry. So I had to learn that the hard way. But I think Get Coffee with Kim is a great resource for you to, continue to surround yourself with people and continue to make yourself better and be in an environment that can really justify that. Dewan is saying, I watched somewhere the elimination method of filtering through the actionable ideas instead of focusing on them all. It probably was Cody. That sounds like her, is my guess. In fact, she was just telling me that last night when we were having dinner. She was like, Kim, stop trying to do everything. So she gives that advice all the time. I can attest. And obviously, it's something that we're all continuing to learn. So I would say surround yourself with positivity, surround yourself with people that are striving to get better. We have a place for you every single week. Again, we meet here every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you have a meeting, if you have to miss, no worries, because it always is on your favorite podcast networks, whether that's Spotify, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Every single Tuesday, it releases. So the lives are on Wednesday, and then the following Tuesday, it releases on all the podcast networks. And you can always watch the replays here on YouTube or LinkedIn, whatever platform strikes your fancy. We are here for you. So I hope this session was helpful. Again, I always think it's like such a fun reset. If it was helpful, if you did enjoy it, can you just let us know, like maybe drop like a little thumbs up emoji or something, only because again, so much of what we do each week is dictated by you, and sometimes by me selfishly, because it's things that I want to learn or people that I want to talk to. But so much of it is, it's a group project, it's a group effort. It's a democracy. So if this is something that is helpful to you, or you enjoyed it, or you want to do it again, you have to let us know, because if not, then we're just like, I don't know, was that good? Do people like that? If a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? We don't know. So if that was helpful, please let us know. But I know it's so helpful for me. I always get a ton of recommendations from you and the things that you're learning and you're doing. I know we love homework assignments around here. It's one of my favorites, and I know it is one of yours as well. So I have a little homework assignment for you. And I also want the reverse. I want you to give me a homework assignment. And I know this is a little unfair because I'm going to have more assignments, but maybe you can take on other people's assignments. But I would like everybody who's joining live to think of a homework assignment for all of us. So there's going to be lots of homework assignments that are going on in the chat. But I want you to give homework. What homework assignment would you give me and us for the rest of the week and going into this weekend? So it could be to download something. It could be to listen to something. It could be to read something. It could be to watch something, whatever it is. But what homework assignment would you give to me and give to us that you think would be interesting or would make us better, or that we would enjoy? So I'll go first, but then you start thinking and typing while I go. And this one, actually, it's funny that you mentioned Cody, because I got this recommendation from both my friend Cody and my friend Helene. And we were sitting at dinner last week, and they were obsessing over this book. And I was like, what is the deal with this book? And they were raving about the book, and they had listened to the book on audio, but then they were doing a reread, also in physical form, like really just doubling down on this book. And it's kind of rare that like two of my friends within a succinct period will recommend the same book to me. So I was kind of like, all right, let me hear them out. I'm about halfway through the book now, and I'm kind of like, all right, like I see it. The book is called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. So if you've ever heard of the book, The Untethered Soul, it is the same author of The Untethered Soul as The Surrender Experiment. And I'll just give you like a top line. The title kind of gives it away, The Surrender Experiment. But the book basically talks about how so much of your life, you have this kind of thought process in the back of your head of like, like stress and like, I don't like that. And, what if this happens? And what if I don't get picked for the project or for the promotion, or what if, and that if you just surrender, and if you stop kind of letting the monkey mind in your head tell you, stress you out, or give you anxiety, or tell you things like you're not good enough, or that's not going to happen for you, or you're trash, or whatever it is, that, just surrendering and seeing like where life takes you, that you'll actually end up at kind of the same road, but you'll be there with a lot less stress. So I don't know if you've already read it. Again, I'm doing the audio version. I'm about halfway through. I've really enjoyed it. It came highly recommended from my friends. So I'm giving it a go. So if we did a homework assignment and we had to give one for each other, that would be my homework assignment to you personally. But we got a lot of other really good homework assignments. I'm going to highlight some of them. Jeff's is find someone you can mentor. This one is so good. So spend the next couple of days finding someone you can mentor. Shelby's is really easy and we can all do it today. And it is originally from Antonio Neves. And that is take a 15-minute walk without anything distracting you. So no AirPods, no music, no podcast playing, nothing. Just you and bird sounds, you and car honking, you and nature, whatever that is. Amanda's is pay attention to your thoughts all week. Listen and observe your thoughts without judgment. Then consciously create new thoughts that are in line with the life that you want to create. Giacomo's is an easy one too, is to just check out Substack. Go to substack.com and look at some of the amazing and inspirational newsletters. Maybe find one that speaks to you and sign up for it. James, I love this one. I actually did this last night. I'm going to do it again tonight. But James' homework assignment is go for a walk after dinner. James is saying, my wife and I have been going on 4-mile walks every night after dinner for about a month. It's nice because we have quiet time to get caught up on things. I did not do a 4-mile walk. I probably did like 3 laps around the block, but I did it after dinner. It kind of is a nice way to digest, unplug. And let's be honest, a lot of times after dinner, we all just kind of plop on the couch in front of the TV and then we're like mindlessly in front of a screen. So I also just find okay, it's a nice little 15, 20, 45-minute, hour-long break that we're not in front of screens, which is probably a win. So Andrew's saying, ask your sphere of influence to share contact and business referrals. Sharing is caring. Yes, be brave. Ask for those recommendations. I feel like that is so true. Liz has take 10 minutes every morning and write 3 things you're grateful for. This works so well to change your mindset. I could not agree more. I feel like that is just so good. Such a good practice to have. We have a lot of homework to do, my friend. We got a lot going on. Unfortunately, next week, I have a board meeting, so I will not be able to hang out on Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, we'll be back. Same time, same place, all the things, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can always go to Get Coffee with Kim, and we will send you that calendar invite. But this was so fun. Thank you for your time, your effort, your energy, your questions, your homework assignments. I really deeply appreciate them. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of the week and the coming weekend. And I will see you so soon, my friend.